More is less and less is more. It's kind of a phrase that we hear a lot in our society today. More of this means less of that. More family time equals probably less phone time, like social media and that stuff. More prayer time at night equals less scrolling on your phone until 2 a.m. But also less is more is a very intriguing as well. Now, what do I mean by that? You get less chips for more money, like we have seen today too. Well, I mean that's true. I mean I've known that too well. Every time buy a bag of chips, it seems like I get less and less chips. But really, on a spiritual level, what do we mean by less is more? Well, again, like I mentioned, I mean less is more if uh root out the distractions, like I mean let Avid we're called to kind of go closer to God, root out our sin. So less is more is spending less time doing the things that maybe we want to do, but more time spending on things that we shouldn't be doing. And that's today's topic we're going to discuss with former Baptist, and he's been on the show before. He has his own podcast as well. So we told him back to the show. Before we get to that, though, again, real quickly, thank you again for just supporting the show in any way you do it, with your financial gifts, with your prayer gift, any way that you give to the show, thank you. Also, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the show. Also, write a review on us. Also, that really helps us a lot as well. Also, for a show topic or speaker request, please feel free to email us at catholictt@gmail.com. Again, it's Catholic with two T's at gmail.com. That's where I get all your, show requests and everything. I like to see where you're coming from, who you are, and what on the show. So that's really very, very cool. One of the cool stories, one of the cool things about doing the show I like. So yeah, let's get back to today's show. And today's guest, like again, he's a podcast host. He appeared in episode 103, so just a little less than a year ago, or just a little, less than 50 episodes ago. He shared his conversion story to Catholicism, and that was very, very inspiring, very, I think, intriguing for other non-Catholics to hear. And just a little bit about him. Justin Hibbard is spent 49 years in Protestant circles like Baptist, Evangelical, and others. He served in pastoral ministry for 11 years and is the co-founder of Christian is Jewish. At the age of 41, not Jesus, Justin came home to the Catholic Church, uh, and a former high school educator and host of the podcast Politics and Plain English. Justin loves taking difficult concepts and breaking them down in ways that are easily accessible and understandable. He lives in the great state of Utah with his wife and three kids, and beautiful country out there. I've never been to Utah, but all the pictures and everything I've heard about Utah is very, very pretty. And the host of Why Catholic Podcast, a very, very great podcast. Highly check it out. Again, it's Why Catholic Podcast. First, welcome back in. Justin Hibbard. Justin, thank you again for all that you do and taking the time of your busy day to come on the show again.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being back. So, yeah, thank you.
Anytime. Like I said, your show is very, very, I think, well done, really truthful, and I mean, your side where you've been is very intriguing too, from being a former Protestant.
Mm.
So in a post that you posted a while back was you kind of were talking about how you quit, you not quit, but you were done with your city job. You work for the city or you on the city council, and you quit your other job, and you're really finding it more at peace. And that's kind of where I draw Justin this inspiration of doing today's show is, I mean, we need more of that in today's society. We need to get away from distractions. I'm not saying work is a distraction away from God or anything, but it's just the way, and you do a great job with posting on Instagram and social media, is really walking us through why you did that. So I guess let's just start right there. In life, what does less means more, mean to you? Because I mean, with that post, it really seemed like it was um really a joyful experience.
Yeah, so I can't answer this question for everyone, right? Like
Sure.
there are
Right.
everybody has a calling in life and they need to pursue that calling. I think for me, what was happening was sort of this existential crisis where I
Sure.
was like, I have a certain lifestyle. I was in sales. It was a very lucrative, job. Um, but I didn't enjoy it. I was enjoying it less and less and less and less as we went on. And it got to the point where I was just like, I was just totally burned out.
Sure.
I did not enjoy working with my boss in this last stint. I it was just really frustrating, and I was just like, I want to get out of this,
Sure.
and I was just I found myself drawn um to people, especially people who take vows of poverty, it's like I understand now. Like I understand why they do that. And I it was interesting. I was just having a conversation with with a friend who's on staff at my church, at my parish, and I was like, man, I would just love to work for the Catholic Church in some way, and trying to figure out what that means, like I
Right.
and to serve the church in a bigger capacity and make that vocational minute or my vocation.
Right.
And so he said to me, he said, Justin, I've got an opportunity for you. Like we think you should come on staff, and here's what this looks like. And and so that kind of began transitioning out of this sales role. And at the same time I was like, well, I got to figure out how to make more money, like
Right.
because the Pope doesn't pay as well as tech companies.
True.
So I so in the past it's been an interesting journey, but one of the things that's been really cool is I've gotten back into options trading. I've been doing options trading since 2010 on and off. And I trade in the morning. My day is done by 9 a.m. And so I can work on other things. I can work on things for the church or work on the podcast or some other stuff. So I'm still trying to find that kind of balance. But for me, it was, and for a lot of people I talk to, they're in uh these corporate jobs that they just find soul crushing.
Right.
And part of it is just kind of the layoffs, the normalization of layoffs, where they watch their friends go, or they don't know if they're going to have a job the next day, and everything is a kind of about making the bottom line. And everything is it's about the dollar, and people are treated as items on a spreadsheet. And I just there's a place for corporate America, and but it's also, there's some really gross things about it that really
Right.
dehumanizes people. And I think that that was becoming more and more my experience. And um and so I was happy to get out of that and just say, like, the money's not worth it. It's just not, there are other things that are more important in life. But again, there are people that are called to do some amazing things in various corporations, and I don't want to take that away from them. And I don't want to say that every corporation is gross and dehumanizes people, but there are some practices in corporate America that I just find more and more distasteful as I continue um, in this in my Christian life.
Right. Well said. I mean, I graduated with a marketing and sales degree, so sales, I totally get where you're coming from, Justin. Just looking at sales jobs, I just don't find it really intriguing as, again, like you said, the bottom line of corporate America is it's all about the bottom line and trying to work and trying to earn a living and trying to keep the job. And every time I look at a sales job to apply for, I'm like, I think sales is really the best fit for me because again, it's just to me it's stressful and yeah, I mean, is the money really worth all that hassle that you're going through? Um, so actually, I think you kind of answered the first couple of questions I had right there, and so I guess I'm just gonna throw this question in there for you now, Justin, is see, how is working at the church? how's that? I mean, I know you said it's making impact, but I guess what looking at the church, what I guess great things have you discovered or learned from working in the church that you didn't learn at your previous job?
Well, I think for one, it's it is a little bit interesting because you're definitely seeing how the sausage gets made. And
Right,
so there's part of that that's like, ooh, like do I want to do this, you know? But at the same time, I think that one of the things that I've been able to do is just sit down with families and individuals, parishioners, and talk to them about their Catholic life
sure,
um, and their desire to grow in that, and their desire, you know, and like and their history of faith and everything like that, the struggles that they've been having. And I've just been very blessed to have these conversations with people and get to know people on a deeper level. I think um the other thing is like hearing people's ideas for ministries. And I think sometimes people are intimidated about where to begin,
sure,
because they think, oh, you know, and I think there's something about Catholic culture maybe that's a little different than Protestant culture. Um, but in Catholic culture, it's easy to, at least what I'm experiencing, it's easy to say, oh, well, you know, that's what the priest does, or that's what the deacon does, or I'm not, you know, and this kind of like, um, oh, the clergy are up here, but the laity are down here.
right,
And you know, in Vatican II, there's in Lumen Gentium, there's a emphasis on the importance of the laity, and the laity are they are the church's missionaries to the world in so many ways. And so being able to and hopefully continue this, but being able to really encourage people in that, I think will be the role that I'm kind of sort of developing into. And so, yeah, so that's been really great, and it's been nice to be able to um, work on staff in that role, in helping things develop at the parish.
sure. And no, I totally think that's a very cool thing, and I think you're the right guy for it. You definitely have that personality for it, just a little bit that I know you, but yeah, that's great. And and again, like you said, I mean, laity has a big impact on the church. Again, like I totally agree. Clergy's up here, we're down here. I just go to mass every Sunday, and I stay in St. Grace, and I pray every little bit every day, and that's about all I can do. It's like, no, I mean, work hard to do more and help other people out, and um I mean, yeah, working for a church is a great thing, and also just again trying to do less in your daytime, whether that's again distractions that lead you off or your sinful ways, and spending more time with God and spending more time with others is a great thing. And so
Yeah.
yeah, um,
Yeah, and I think too, like
yeah,
I think that, you know, what this experience has given me is seeing more of my priest's life,
sure,
and seeing how busy he is. I mean, he like it's insane to me how I mean, he's just going and going and going. And so a lot of these things that people think, oh, I wish the church did this. A lot
right,
of times it's like you're waiting for the priest to do it, but he has no capacity to do it. And I've always operated, even when I was a pastor, that if you have an idea of something, that might be God nudging you in that direction, you know,
right,
not to pawn it off on somebody else and say, well, I've got this idea and you should do it, but rather I've got this idea and this vision, and how can I help further this? So I'm a big believer in that, and a big fan of priests who give that kind of leeway to their parishioners, who can who have that vision, and really can just encourage them and say, yeah, let's do that.
right. And I know what you have in your parish area, but I mean for my parishes in over here in the diocese of St. Cloud, Justin. In my area, we have 8 parishes with 2 priests. So I've heard, other locations in Minnesota having 2 priests for 3 locations, and they're going, going, going. And it's like, yeah, mine has two for 8 parishes, and just it doesn't matter how many parishes the priest has, he's always going, going. And going off what you said there too is, maybe that's God nudging you, saying, hey, you should do this, not have someone else do it. Because, I mean, again, in sales, if you got that thought, you're probably gonna do that action because you want to get that money that would come from that
Hmm.
off that commission. So why, if you're gonna do that in sales or any other place or any other job, why do you let any faith life? Why do you point at someone and say you're more qualified or you're more holy or whatever you do it? It's like, no, God's nudging you. So that's a great point. And I mean, yeah, I mean, God nudges us to do podcasts, and we don't say, well, that's for more radio show hosts. I don't really do podcasts. It's like, no, he nudged you to do yours. He nudged me to do mine. So absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think too, like so many people, there are so many really talented people out there
right,
that have just a mind for whatever business or something or some acumen um, for uh, the work that they do. And you think like construction
yeah,
or um, accounting or anything like that. And one thing that I've realized is just how much the church needs those people to
right,
step up. I was at a meeting with a diocese. It was talking about all of the churches were represented at the diocese, and the priests were there and so on. And it was sort of a financial conversation. We're talking about the diocese finances and everything. And the bishop just kept emphasizing, like, hey, you guys need to surround yourself with competent people. You need to have these committees that put the books in order. This is canonical law. And he was
right,
really stressing that. And I think that there were probably some parishes that are really struggling in that area. And there are really competent people in the parish. And I just want to speak to those people, like you, like what you put yourself out there for your business. You put yourself out there for the company that you work for. Uh, your church needs you
right.
more than the business needs you, and the business will treat you that way. Like if the bottom line isn't working out, and I mean they have no qualms about cutting you. And they may even talk to you about being a family, like you're part of our family, until you're not, right? until
Right.
until you don't perform well, or until like they need to make some layoff decisions, and they'll just cut you. Like that's not a family. A family is a parish, and that is your true family. And that family does need you and does need your talents.
Right, well said. And I think that kind of takes us into the next question that I have, Justin, is, I mean, how should others find more with less in their lives? I mean, like I said in my intro, I mean, Advent and Lent is great seasons to really focus on this. But as we all know, we're all sinners, we all fail, and we all kind of,
Mhm.
set this aside probably during the rest of the year. Um, so how do people find that in their lives? What really what do you say? What would you say to people to get them motivated to do that?
Well, there's a great illustration that I always think about. Jesus was cornered by the Pharisees and Sadducees, and they asked him, is it lawful to pay the tax to Caesar? Now, this was a head tax that was extremely unpopular among the Jewish people at Jesus's time. And the Pharisees, their angle was, we shouldn't be paying this tax. The Sadducees, who were more pro Roman government, were okay with it. And it was a very clever trick to play on Jesus, because if Jesus says it's not lawful to pay taxes, then the Sadducees can run to the Romans and say, this guy is a rebel rouser and he's going to try to overthrow the government. And if he does say that it's lawful to pay the tax, then the Pharisees can say to the people, this guy's pro-Roman, you know?
Right.
And so it's a really clever trick. And Jesus asks for a coin, and he gets this coin, and he holds it up and he says, whose image is on this, whose icon is on this coin? And it's Caesar's. And it even says Caesar, like high priest, son of the gods. So here you have the great high priest, the son of God, holding up this coin with somebody else's image that said that the silver piece of silver with somebody else's inscription that says high priest, son of the gods. Really ironic moment. And Jesus says, render to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. And what he says is really clever. He says the verb that he uses with Caesar is like, give Caesar what you owe him, right?
Right.
So what do you owe him? And this is his money. Like he minted it. This is, I mean, it's a pagan symbol even. It's
Right.
his money. And you've taken his money, you owe him his money. But give to God, the verb that he uses is more like a devotion. So
Right.
in some ways he was saying, look, you're um you're obligated to give Caesar a coin, but your devotion to God is your entire life, you know?
Right.
And so, and the other thing that's so interesting about this is Jesus doesn't have a coin. He has to ask for it. So I think in one sense, the more we play society's game, the more we owe society, right? The more we're beholden to society. So yeah, you can rack up a ton of debt getting that awesome house and getting those flashy cars and getting everything like that, but the more you're going to have to play the game to give back Caesar what is Caesar's, right?
Right.
And maybe that infringes on the time that you can devote yourself to God. And I think debt really limits our choices
Oh
in
yeah.
life, and our jobs, because we have to think about, okay, well, I need this job in order to pay for these bills, and then um I need to, so I can keep up this lifestyle, and then I need to keep doing it this way and keep in the rat race and everything like that. And oh, I'm going to accumulate more stuff, and then I'm going to have these other jobs, and maybe I don't like my job, but I don't have a choice. I have to keep doing this.
Right.
And then if there's opportunities to do something else, like a pilgrimage or something like that, or maybe a missions trip, you can't do that because you have time constraints. And so um yeah, I think Jesus makes a really clear illustration where he's like, look, I'm not beholden to these physical things that require me to play the game. And so he's not playing the game simply by taking that sort of vow of poverty in a sense, and
Right.
um just relying on the donations of his followers and supporters and things like that. And that's not to say like everyone should quit their job and, and stuff like
No.
that. That's
Right.
not what I'm saying. Uh, I'm saying that I think that we need to have the mindset where we step out of the system that the world has and
Sure.
say, um, this is the world system, and that may not be God's system. Now, there may be parts of it that God is calling me to, but um, if I don't want to play the game, right, I can make that choice, and those will be some life decisions as well.
Like, well said. I mean, yeah, I love the illustration that you gave there because I mean, you just gotta think about what the Sadducees and the uh,
Pharisees.
Pharisees, thank you. What they were thinking when he said that, I bet they're like, shoot, we had him. What happened? How did you do that? So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, great point because again, like you said, debt, I mean, you can't do much when you have a ton of debt. I mean, I was lucky enough to not have a lot of debt during, college. Yeah, I'll pay it off and now, I'm putting my money elsewhere. But I mean, again, it's that lifestyle, the earthly lifestyle, like you mentioned, that's, we gotta have this to have this lifestyle. Um, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna be forever where being with God is. So again, yeah, focus on like you said, going on mission trips or go on pilgrimages or giving to the poor more, giving to your church more. That's what we really should be doing a call to do, and that's how we can. It's another step closer to heaven because again, earthly things don't last forever.
Yeah.
We I don't know about you, but I mean, I know I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna make it this. I'm not gonna live forever in this life. So yeah, well said. So just wrapping up the show, very very great content, Justin, and just your last remarks on this topic, as well as I do want you to talk a little bit about your podcast as well.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been doing lately, and I'm just kind of in a soft launch period, but with the options trading that I've been doing, I've developed a program to teach people how to options trade.
Okay.
It's called Trade to Live. You can find it at tradetolive.substack.com. So that's tradetolive.substack.com. And it's a subscription program, allows people to learn kind of this skill set. My goal in doing this options trading is to pay off all my debt as quickly as possible. And I really want to use that money to be more generous in my life and to also open up doors to do things like go on missions trips or do things abroad and stuff like that. So, and if others feel like, hey, I'm in this job, I am stuck in here, I'm stuck in this hamster wheel, and I'm trying to get out, and I'm trying to have more free time and stuff like that, then that may be an option for people. It's certainly something you can check out. But yeah, that's kind of been my passion in teaching people how to do this because it's been completely freeing for me to kind of free up my time to do other things that I find are more important in life and give me the financial resources to do that. So yeah, that's one thing that I've been really working on. Um, yeah, and then as far as oh sorry, what was your second question?
Just talk a little bit about your show and what you do and how can people find you, subscribe, donate to you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so Why Catholic is you can find it at whycatholic.substack.com. That's the website where you can subscribe, but you can also find it on any podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. The focus of the show is really apologetics. So we
Sure.
each episode's about 17 minutes long on a particular topic. Right now, we're in a series on the nature of God, and we will be wrapping that up at some point in the next, probably around towards the end of April, and then we're going to talk about Mary and
Wow.
Mary, the Mother of God, and the Blessed Virgin Mary, and her role, and what the church says about her, and what the church has historically believed about her. And then we're going to move into the papacy. So we're going to talk about some pretty controversial topics as far as kind of the contrast between Catholics and other Christian sects. So yeah, you can check it out at the Why Catholic podcast. I was on the Journey Home on
Oh yeah.
EWTN recently. That was aired February 9th, I think it was, and or February 6th, something like that. And I shared my story there on the Journey Home, which was a real blessing with the Coming Home Network. So yeah, that's where you can find the Why Catholic podcast.
All right, I'll have a couple of links down in the show notes description as well, so it's make it a little easier for the listeners or the viewers out there. So yeah, awesome. Justin, again, thank you for your interest of coming back on the show and helping supporting me on this journey. And all the best to you and to your family and on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and God bless you.
All right, that's Justin Hibbard, everyone again. Again, why Catholic podcast, and again, um, share this with your friends and family. Let them know why less other stuff means more time of just the people who we are meant to be. So hopefully this was inspiring to you. I know it was to me. And again, share it with family and friends. Until next time, stay in the state of grace, go to the sacraments, and we'll see you next time on Catholic Table Talk podcast.